You ever walk into a moment where everything feels like it's crumbling, where life throws chaos at you faster than you can breathe? Maybe it's a failed plan, a mistake that haunts you, or someone who doubted you. But what if I told you that every situation, no matter how impossible it seems, can be outsmarted, not by luck, not by strength, but by the power of your mind? Your brain is your greatest weapon, not a sword, not a shield, a compass. And if you train it, sharpen it, respect it, it will guide you through storms that others drown in. So tonight, let's talk about how to train your brain to outsmart any situation. You ever notice how the world rewards speed? Everyone's rushing to react, to speak, to fix, to fight. But in that chaos, something powerful gets lost: calm, that quiet, centered space between thought and action. And the truth is, calm is your secret weapon. It's the invisible force that separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. When life hits hard, when your plans collapse, when someone betrays your trust, your first instinct is to react. Your pulse races, your breath shortens, your mind floods with what ifs and worst case scenarios. It's biology, it's survival. But here's the catch: that same instinct that once saved us from predators now often turns against us. Because in most of today's battles, panic is poison. Calm, on the other hand, is clarity. I remember watching a man once. He lost everything in an instant. A fire took his home, his work, years of memories. Everyone expected him to fall apart, but he didn't. He stood there, breathing slowly, eyes steady. When people asked him why he wasn't breaking down, he said, "If I lose my mind too, then I've lost everything." That line stuck with me. Because that's what calm really is: the choice to protect your mind when the world tries to take it from you. Think about firefighters, surgeons, astronauts, people whose jobs depend on precision and chaos. What do they all have in common? They train for calm. A firefighter running into a burning building doesn't let adrenaline lead. He breathes, he scans, he acts. The surgeon's hands stay steady, not because she's fearless, but because she's learned to quiet the storm inside her. That's the kind of mental mastery we all need, not just in emergencies, but in everyday life. When someone insults you, calm gives you the power to choose grace instead of rage. When you're overwhelmed by bad news, calm lets you think instead of spiral. It's not about being emotionless, it's about channeling emotion into focus. Calm doesn't mean cold, it means controlled. It's the difference between a match that burns out and a flame that endures. You can train this. It's not some mystical trait people are born with. It's practice, it's awareness. Start small. When you feel stress rising, don't run from it. Pause, breathe, feel the ground under your feet. It sounds simple, maybe even trivial, but the science is real. Slow, deep breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural brake pedal. It tells your brain you're safe. And when your brain believes that, it gives you back your ability to think clearly. Meditation, mindfulness, even simple pauses before responding, they rewire your brain for composure. You're teaching your mind to sit in the fire without getting burned. Imagine walking through a storm while everyone else is running. You can't stop the rain, but you can stop it from owning you. Calm is also contagious. People feel it. When you stay centered in conflict, you give others permission to slow down too. That's leadership, not the loud kind, not the flashy kind, the quiet kind that steadies the room just by being in it. I once read a story about a pilot who lost both engines mid-flight. Hundreds of lives depended on him. Most people would freeze or scream. He didn't. He focused, calculated, and landed that plane safely on the Hudson River. Later, he said he wasn't calm because he wasn't afraid. He was calm because fear would have wasted precious seconds. That's the essence of it. Calm is not denial, it's control. It's the moment where fear ends and strategy begins. You may not be flying a plane or facing a burning building, but every day you face moments that test your balance. Arguments, setbacks, pressure, and each time you choose calm, you train your brain to trust itself more deeply. When you master calm, you don't just survive chaos, you transform it, you see through it, you act with precision instead of panic. The world may move fast, but your mind doesn't have to chase it. Because calm doesn't make you slower, it makes you sharper. It lets you hear the truth beneath the noise. So when the storm comes, and it will, remember this: power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's the quietest mind in the loudest room. And when you find that calm, that stillness inside the storm, you don't just outlast the chaos, you outsmart it. Most people look at problems like walls, cold, hard, and immovable. You hit one and think, that's it, I'm stuck. But the truth is, the wall isn't real. It's a projection, a reflection of fear, failure, and doubt. The moment you change how you see it, everything changes. Because when you reframe the problem, You don't just survive the challenge, you rewrite the game itself. Every setback in life carries two stories. The first one is the easy one, the one your mind writes in panic. I failed. I'm not good enough. This is unfair. But there's always another story hidden underneath. What if this isn't a dead end? What if this is an invitation to think differently? The difference between the two stories isn't circumstance, it's perspective. The same fire that burns one person can forge another. There's this old story about a sculptor who was asked how he carved such beautiful statues out of rough stone. He said, I just chip away everything that isn't the statue. That's what reframing does. You stop seeing the stone as a problem and start seeing it as potential. The obstacle becomes part of the masterpiece. Think about Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb on the first try. He failed over 1,000 times. When a journalist asked how it felt to fail so many times, he said, I didn't fail. I discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work. That single sentence is what reframing looks like in motion. He refused to let failure define him. He turned every mistake into data, every frustration into feedback. That's not optimism, it's discipline. The discipline to see beyond defeat. Now, reframing isn't pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's not putting a smile on a sinking ship. It's about asking better questions. Instead of, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me? That small shift turns chaos into clarity. Suddenly, you're not a victim of circumstance. You're a student of it. I've met people who've lost everything, jobs, relationships, health, and somehow they found strength in the ashes. One man told me that losing his company was the best thing that ever happened to him. At first, that sounded crazy, but he said it forced him to confront who he really was beyond success. It gave him freedom. He reframed loss as liberation. That's how powerful perspective can be. It can turn pain into purpose. Neuroscience backs this up. When you reframe a negative event, your brain actually rewires. It shifts activity from the amygdala, the fear center, to the prefrontal cortex, where problem solving and creativity live. You literally think better when you change how you interpret a problem. The situation doesn't change, but your capacity to deal with it expands. That's what gives you the edge. Here's the thing. The world will always throw problems your way. That's not going to stop. But how you interpret them determines how far you go. Some people spend their lives wishing obstacles away. Others use them as leverage. Think of martial artists. They don't fight force with force. They redirect it. They use the energy of the attack to their advantage. That's what reframing does. You take the momentum of what's trying to break you and you turn it into fuel. The next time something goes wrong, don't rush to fix it immediately. Sit with it. Ask yourself what opportunity hides beneath the mess. Sometimes a closed door isn't rejection, it's redirection. Sometimes the delay you hate is protecting you from a disaster you can't yet see. Reframing lets you step back far enough to notice that. There's a kind of quiet power in that mindset. It doesn't deny pain or fear. It moves through them. It sees beyond them. When life says, you can't, reframing answers, maybe not like that, but there's another way. And that's when things start to shift. That's when what looked like the end becomes the beginning of something new. You can't control every storm, but you can control how you sail through it. When you reframe the problem, the storm stops being the enemy. It becomes the wind that pushes you forward. You stop fighting the world and start learning from it. And in that moment, you don't just change the outcome, you change yourself. That's how you rewrite the game. Your brain is the most powerful tool you will ever own. It's faster than any computer, more adaptable than any machine, and capable of reshaping itself every single day. But like any engine, it depends on the fuel you give it. And most people, without even realizing it, run their brains on low-grade fuel, junk data, empty noise, negativity, distraction, gossip, fear. You can't expect clarity if what you feed your mind is chaos. You can't expect strength if what you give it is poison. Every thought you consume, every word you hear, every piece of information you absorb, it all becomes part of the mental diet that shapes your decisions, your emotions, your entire worldview. You wouldn't fill a sports car with cheap fuel and expect it to win a race. Yet people do that to their minds every day. They wake up, scroll through a feed filled with anger, comparison, and fear, then wonder why they feel drained before breakfast. The truth is simple. Your focus becomes your reality, and what you feed your focus becomes your future. There's a story about a wise old man who told his grandson, inside each of us, there are two wolves fighting. One is fear, envy, and doubt. The other is strength, peace, and courage. The boy asked, which one wins? The old man smiled and said, the one you feed. That story isn't a metaphor. It's neuroscience. Your brain is wired through repetition. The more you feed a pattern, good or bad, the stronger it gets. The more you think a thought, the easier it becomes to think it again. You're building highways in your mind. and every choice either paves the path toward power or confusion. So what are you feeding your brain? Are you giving it wisdom, creativity, challenge, or are you drowning it in distraction? Think about your inputs like a playlist. You choose the tracks you play every day. You choose the books, the conversations, the shows, the music, the people. Each one either lifts your energy or drains it. Each one either builds your resilience or erodes it. The difference between growth and stagnation often comes down to what you allow to enter your mind. The world is noisy. Everywhere you look, something is trying to claim your attention. That's the currency now. Attention. Companies, media, even people, they all fight for it. And if you don't protect your mind, the world will program it for you. But when you start curating your mental environment with intention, everything changes. You begin to see life more clearly. Your thoughts become sharper. Your decisions carry weight. Because a well-fed mind doesn't react, it responds. Start by replacing passive consumption with active learning. Read something every day that challenges you. Watch things that expand your perspective. Listen to people who've walked roads you haven't yet traveled. It doesn't have to be grand. 10 pages, one podcast, one deep conversation. The point isn't volume, it's quality. Feed your brain with fuel that makes it stronger, not heavier. Even science backs this up. Studies in neuroplasticity show that our brains physically change based on what we focus on. You can literally rewire yourself for resilience, optimism, or creativity by feeding those circuits through consistent input. Every time you choose inspiration over distraction, your brain grows stronger in the right direction. It's like lifting mental weights, small, deliberate reps that build unseen strength. But it's not just about knowledge, it's about energy. Pay attention to the people around you. Are they feeding your fire or draining your spark? Surround yourself with those who push you to think deeper, who challenge you without trying to break you. Energy is contagious. If you're around people who constantly complain, you start to feel heavy. But when you spend time with people who create, who dream, who fight for meaning, you rise. Feeding your brain better fuel also means quieting the noise. Give yourself moments of silence, reflection, stillness, because sometimes the best fuel is space, the kind that lets your thoughts breathe and ideas form. The mind can't thrive if it's constantly flooded. You wouldn't pour more water into an overflowing glass. Learn to pause, let things settle. That's when insight appears. When you start to treat your mind like the sacred engine it is, everything in your life aligns differently. Your focus sharpens, your emotions stabilize, your purpose becomes clear. You begin to act from intention instead of impulse. That's the power of good fuel, because ultimately, your thoughts are the architects of your reality. What you feed your brain today builds the world you'll live in tomorrow. So make the choice. Every word, every thought, every influence, choose what feeds your strength, not your fear. The mind you train becomes the life you lead. We live in a world that worships comfort, warm homes, soft beds, endless convenience at our fingertips, everything designed to make life easier, faster, smoother. But here's the paradox. Comfort can make you weak. It dulls your edge, numbs your instincts, and slowly convinces you that you're fragile. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens in the space where you're uncomfortable, uncertain, maybe even scared, but you show up anyway. That's the art of controlled discomfort. Controlled discomfort isn't about chasing pain or pretending to be invincible. It's about training your mind and body to stay calm when things get hard. It's the decision to walk into challenge on purpose, not because you love suffering, but because you know that's where strength is built. Think about how a muscle grows. You don't get stronger by lifting something easy. You grow when you lift something that pushes back. The resistance is what changes you. The same rule applies to your character, your focus, your resilience. They all grow under pressure. There's a story about a mountain climber who trained by carrying heavy rocks up a hill every day. People laughed. They said, "Why make it harder than it has to be?" But when the storm came, when others froze and gave up, he kept climbing. His legs didn't fail him because he had practiced discomfort. That's what it does. It prepares you for the storms you can't predict. When you step into discomfort intentionally, you're sending a message to your brain. I can handle this. Cold showers, early mornings, long runs, hard conversations. These aren't punishments. They're reminders. They teach your mind not to retreat the moment something feels tough. And the more you practice, the more your threshold expands. Suddenly, the things that once terrified you become routine. What once broke you becomes fuel. I've seen people go through real pain, loss, heartbreak, failure, and somehow come out sharper, more grounded, more alive. Not because they enjoyed the pain, but because they didn't run from it. They faced it. They found something inside themselves they didn't know was there. That's what controlled discomfort reveals. It introduces you to your hidden strength, the kind that doesn't shout, but endures. It's easy to say, I'll rise to the occasion when everything's calm. But when life hits hard, when pressure crushes your chest and fear whispers that you're not enough, what you've practiced is what you'll fall back on. That's why controlled discomfort is so important. It builds muscle memory for the mind. It gives you a system to stay grounded when everything else falls apart. Think of elite soldiers or firefighters. They train in extreme conditions, not because they expect every mission to be that hard, but because when reality hits, they want calm to be automatic. They rehearse stress so that when it comes for real, they don't freeze. They move. You can apply that same principle to everyday life. When you push through a difficult workout, have a tough conversation, take a risk that scares you, you're rehearsing courage. You're programming resilience. Controlled discomfort also breaks the illusion of limitation. Most people never discover what they're capable of because they stop at enough. They let fear disguise itself as logic. They stay where it's safe, convincing themselves that it's not the right time. But there is no right time. There's only now. Discomfort forces you to meet yourself in that space, to see what happens when excuses fade and effort takes over. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be simple, choosing the stairs instead of the elevator, turning off distractions to focus, learning something that challenges you. Every time you step willingly into something uncomfortable, you make a deposit into your bank of strength. You're building a reserve for the days you'll need it most, because those days will come. The loss, the failure, the unexpected storm. And when they do, you'll find yourself standing in the middle of it all, breathing steady, heart pounding, but not breaking. Because you've been here before. That's what practice does. It turns fear into familiarity. It turns discomfort into discipline. And it reminds you that pain isn't the enemy. It's the teacher. The more you work with it, the more it shapes you. Every step outside your comfort zone is a step toward becoming the person you're meant to be. So don't run from the hard things. Train with them, welcome them, because in the end, it's not comfort that makes you strong. It's the courage to face what isn't. There comes a point in everyone's life when the noise fades, the distractions fall away, and you're left staring at the mirror, asking the question that never really leaves, why? Why did this happen? Why am I here? Why does any of it matter? And that's when the truth hits. You can't always control what happens, but you can control what it means. You can create meaning out of everything, even the things that break you, especially the things that break you. Meaning is what turns pain into purpose. It's what takes chaos and gives it shape. Without it, life feels random, like you're drifting, reacting, existing. But when you decide that every moment has something to teach you, every failure has a lesson, every loss has a gift, you start to live differently. You start to see that even the hardest days are part of a story that's still being written. There's a story about a man who lost everything, his job, his home, his sense of direction. For months, he wandered through life like a shadow. Then one day, he started volunteering at a hospital, helping children fight illnesses he couldn't imagine enduring. He said it gave him something he didn't even know he was missing, a reason to get up again. The circumstances hadn't changed, but the meaning had. And that shift turned despair into purpose. That's what meaning does. It doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it a reason to exist. We tend to wait for meaning to appear, like it's something we'll stumble across if we just keep searching. But meaning isn't found, it's made. It's built in the choices you make every day. You can find meaning in failure by learning from it. You can find meaning in heartbreak by understanding what love really costs. You can find meaning in silence by listening to what your soul's been trying to tell you all along. There's a psychiatrist who survived one of the darkest chapters of human history, and he wrote that the people who made it through weren't always the strongest or smartest. They were the ones who could find purpose in their suffering. They didn't let pain define them. They gave it direction. That's how they survived. That's how they lived. When you choose to create meaning, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what can this make of me? You stop looking for fairness and start looking for growth. You stop needing everything to make sense because you understand that meaning isn't about logic. It's about transformation. It's the quiet courage to say, this may not be what I wanted, but I can still use it. I've seen people take the hardest losses and turn them into something beautiful. Someone loses a loved one and starts a foundation that saves lives. Someone gets rejected and uses that pain to fuel their art, their business, their next chapter. That's what meaning looks like. It's the act of turning pain into creation. It's alchemy of the human spirit. But meaning isn't just born in tragedy. It lives in the small things too. The moments we overlook, the way sunlight hits the window in the morning, the laughter of a friend when you didn't know you needed it, the quiet walk that clears your head. When you pay attention to those moments, you start to realize that meaning isn't rare. It's everywhere. It's hidden in the ordinary, waiting for you to notice. Life will test you. It will shake you. Sometimes it will break you. But if you can create meaning from those moments, you'll never truly be defeated. Because even when everything around you falls apart, meaning gives you something no one can take away: direction. It gives the pain a purpose, the struggle a story, and the chaos a pattern you can grow from. So when life hits hard, when you feel lost or empty, don't ask for it to be easier. Ask for it to matter. Ask what this moment is trying to build inside you, because the meaning you create becomes the compass that guides you through everything that follows. And when you live like that, when you choose to see purpose in every experience, you stop being a passenger in your story. You become the author. You write your own reason. And that's where true strength begins. Your brain is not a cage, it's a forge. Every trial, every mistake, every quiet moment, it's shaping who you are. Train it to stay calm under pressure. Reframe problems as opportunities. Feed it good fuel. Seek discomfort. And above all, give it meaning. Do that. And no matter what life throws your way, you won't just survive. You'll outsmart it. Because true intelligence isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about trusting yourself to find them when it matters most.